Let's freaking go, Arkansas fans. You guys, what are you thinking right now about the future of your team? A lot of you are drinking the Taylen Green Kool-Aid. I have a stat for you that will draw some skepticism regarding his really elite performance. We'll talk about Desmond James. We'll talk about the whole shebang. But I feel as if the bigger discussion is surrounding, obviously, this controversial Fernando Carmona step on the foot of the Texas Tech DB, whose name I am misremembering. Okay, so look, I think what's getting lost is that Fernando Carmona did, to me, the most adult thing you can do that is never, ever, ever appreciated in this society anymore, which is apologize. I think the worst thing Fernando Carmona did was apologize. He should have never apologized, even though it is a noble thing to do, right? So here's a play. There he is stepping on the foot of a player.
Did you see it?
Obviously, very cheap and dirty, and you should never, ever, ever do that. I don't want people to say, well, that safety was taking the knees out of our receivers. Both of those hits were clean. I don't think either one of those hits were dirty. You should never step on somebody's ankle at the bottom of the pile. And Carmona admitted that he got lost in a moment and should have never done that. Now, I will tell you this. I had a minor role in all of this. Very, very, very minor role. Because I was doing the Arkansas versus Texas Tech film study, and I was getting ready to do the second half film study, and I really couldn't do it. I was getting ready to DJ a wedding the next night, and I just didn't have time. So I just took one play from the second half and posted it on Twitter, and the play was by Fernando Carmona. He blocked 3 guys on one Taylen Green run in the early third quarter, and that was that. I don't know if I'm going to get around to doing a second half film study. I did not know of the Carmona viral dirty play. That, in fact, wasn't even made light of until the next day. So none of what I did for Carmona was me stooping for him. He actually played phenomenally versus Texas Tech, and I wanted to show some love to the offensive line. And I got a few DMs from people saying, hey, why are you stooping for such a dirty player? I didn't know. I didn't even know that even happened. So that was my minor role. I had an NFL offensive lineman mad at me for how I did the film study as well. That's okay. Not everybody's going to like the way you do things. That's fine. But you can go see the clip for yourself, twitter.com/CarterThePower. You know, is this a sign of something with Sam Pittman? You know, it was weird seeing Sam Pittman after the game. He was on the sideline with that cane, and there's nothing wrong with being hobbled. But I'll be honest, it looked weird. It didn't look like in that game that he was the most excited person in the world to be there, which is interesting. Now, he is off of surgery, but does his Texas Tech win mean anything? Texas Tech has been a really good bowl team. We saw them just a few years ago beat down on Ole Miss. They have mostly performed well in bowl games. That was a somewhat motivated Texas Tech team. But they were a bad defense all year long in the Big 12. That was not a very good team. And as we've seen during bowl season, the Big 12 has been kind of So, look, there's not really so much you could take away from the bowl game, considering Texas Tech had their own opt-outs and weren't really that good of a team. But it is something to build on moving forward. I will say the Carmona thing, that is Sam Pittman's position. Obviously, offensive line is what he's known for. I believe your team takes on the personality of your coach. I do believe that. So it is interesting. One other thing that I found to be very fascinating was one of the best Arkansas defensive backs of the past decade Dwight McGlothern went out guns a-blazing talking about Sam Pittman. We'll pull up the tweet so you can make your own judge on this. And look, I will let you draw your own conclusions. It's Dwight McGlothern. Okay. He says, I love the Razorbacks, but I don't respect a man who tells lies for fun, then talks down on you and scared to approach you when you know he talked bad about you behind your back. Dwight McGlothern continues. He says, Sam Pittman benched me after I didn't play Bama game because I had a concussion and told him days before the game and didn't tell my trainers and had me warm up, and I told him I couldn't go. And after that, he tried to make it seem like I got my spot took. He didn't speak to me anymore. Okay? Now, he also called Carmona bad character. Whatever. Now, I will tell you this. Dwight McGlothern's departure from LSU was very weird. So he was a part of the Orgeron regime. The Orgeron regime at LSU was very player friendly, as in there really wasn't a whole lot of accountability for players. And then obviously Brian Kelly came in. He's not quite hardcore Kirk Ferentz disciplinarian, but right when Brian Kelly came to LSU, McGlothern was basically out the door. They were not seeing eye to eye. It was not a mix. So I will say that there was an exit, an uncomfortable exit with LSU and Dwight McGlothern. He goes to Arkansas, and same thing. Also, that was not the most well-worded statement from Dwight McGlothern. It was a big old run-on sentence, and it got kind of confusing. Was he saying the trainers didn't tell Sam Pittman, or it was just kind of confusing, right? I'm not saying he just made it up. And if anyone would be critical of Sam Pittman, it's me. I've been probably more critical of Sam Pittman than most people who cover Arkansas regularly. But, you know, I would be skeptical of what Dwight McGlothern said. Do I think there's some smoke to it? Yeah. But there's more to that story than just that. Definitely so. Bottom line, though, was Dwight McGlothern was definitely a huge addition for Arkansas. He was a phenomenal player. But it is not a good look when you have former players saying that about the former coach, especially one that's in the NFL. Because Arkansas just doesn't have a whole lot of NFL players. I mean, they do compared to most schools, but compared to the rest of the SEC, I don't know. Let's go to DMAC. What was the opposing damage to the player who Carmona stepped on? I don't know. I really don't know. Blood Diamond says there's a lot of dirty play in sports, period. That is true, but that doesn't mean you could justify it. Let's go to Leslie. It's called football. There's always something going on, and now they're going to single this man out. I say move forward, drop the subject. Well, this is my first time going live, and because, you know, I got accused of washing over the incident, I wanted to talk about it. It's my first time being live since it happened, and it drew a lot of attention. You had so many former NFL players talking about how dirty it was. You had Le'Veon Bell. You had one of the Long brothers. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look. And that's part of it. You know, Arkansas gets this big victory. Taylen Green has by far his best game at Arkansas. You emerge with a superstar wide receiver, potentially with Desmond James. You have all these things happen. And then at the end of it, there's a controversy. There's something that makes Arkansas look bad, which is not good. It's not good. So it is what it is at this point. Now, if we are to turn the page, obviously this game gives you a lot of hope for Taylen Green. But there is something that I wanted to share with you. What if I told you Taylen Green's really, really good bowl performance is actually more common than uncommon? In other words, SEC quarterbacks play really well in bowl games. All right? We will share my data right here. But before we do that, we want to shout out our friends at Sequoia Dental and sequoiadental.com. Northwest Arkansas, what are you doing? Why are you not switching over to Sequoia Dental? They're the reason why we're able to do these things. Sequoia Dental, sequoiadental.com. It's not just your typical dentist checkups. They do it all, cosmetic surgeries, and they even do Botox. Sequoia Dental, sequoiadental.com. Now, Taylen Green, was the breakout quarterback performance something that is a sign of things to come? The answer is maybe. So what I decided to do was look to see if SEC quarterbacks as a whole perform better in bowl games than they do during the SEC season. Because if we believe SEC competition is better, which it is, and if we believe SEC defenses are better, which in terms of NFL talent, they are better, then I wanted to see if SEC quarterbacks play better versus bowl teams that aren't SEC teams. So, for example, Taylen Green had by far his best ESPN QBR ever at Arkansas in this last game versus Texas Tech. You know who else put up a career performance? True freshman Michael Hawkins, who throughout the season, when he played for Oklahoma, really wasn't that good. Michael Hawkins put the football in good spots versus Navy. So what do we know about SEC quarterback performances in bowl games? Well, since 2013, and this number has now changed, there have been 17 SEC quarterback performances. 14 of them have been great, what I would consider to be great. So a 75 QBR or better, because Brady Cook just played and he dominated versus a really good defensive coach and Kirk Ferentz without his best receiver. So Taylen Green wasn't the only quarterback that had a career game this bowl season without his number one option. I kept seeing that. Well, Taylen Green did well without Andrew Armstrong. Well, a lot of SEC quarterbacks do well without their number one receiver. Look at Quinn Ewers versus Clemson in this bowl game. Did not have Isaiah Bond. Didn't matter. All right. So since 2022, let's increase the sample. There have been 28 SEC quarterback performances since 2022 in bowl games. 71% of the time, a QB put up a very, very, very good game. Since 2021, 65% of the time, an SEC quarterback put up a big game. Since 2020, 67% of the time. So it doesn't matter if you increase the sample size. And in particular, recent history says 4 out of every 5 quarterbacks have a career day. 4 out of every 5 quarterbacks. Increase the sample, 2 out of every 3 quarterbacks. That's a lot of bowl games. So this one game that Taylen Green had that was really good showed you a lot of promise. We showed you in the film study. Instead of bailing out of the pocket to the right side every single time, he stepped up into the pocket. He spread the football around. Trusted some other not-so-great receivers. Had a guy in Desmond James step up. All those things are true. All those things are true. But be very skeptical of it because a lot of SEC quarterbacks have great bowl performances. And You take a look at some of the SEC quarterbacks in that data sample who had bad bowl games. Well, a lot of those quarterbacks that had bad bowl games, number one, they were playing in a playoff game like Nico on the road versus Ohio State, who's probably the best team in the country right now. You also had a guy like TJ Finley in that data set. TJ Finley has been at 6 schools in 7 years. So it really was a whole lot of bad quarterbacks really bringing down that number a whole lot lower than it actually is. So, do I think that bowl game gives Taylen Green a lot of confidence going into next year? I do. And it is always better to end on a positive note than a negative note. But I would caution not only with Taylen Green, but I would caution against Desmond James. Texas Tech's defense was in the bottom 5 of the Big 12 in yards per pass attempt, yards per play, every defensive metric you can look for. So, yeah, Desmond James looked amazing. Showed off that 100-meter dash speed. Looked like a potential number 1 option. All those things are great. But, I would be very skeptical. Very, very, very skeptical. We'll take a few more here. Mark Bowie. How many times in a pile does someone get an arm or a leg twisted? This was just a bad look to a fairly common occurrence. Mark, I watch a lot of football. It's my job, okay? I do 2 things. And, Mark, I think this is the first time you ever tune into a live stream of mine. And I'm not an Arkansas fan. Don't want them to do well? Yeah, because a lot of my friends went to Arkansas and still live in Fayetteville. But not an Arkansas fan. It was a dirty play. Just because you think it's fairly common, and it is somewhat common, doesn't mean it was justified. It doesn't. And if stepping on someone intentionally is fairly common, show me the examples of it. I mean, yeah, there are some players who are known for just being dirty, like Ndamukong Suh in his early years, Albert Haynesworth. But, I don't know how common it is. Are there legs and stuff like that getting turned and arms pulled and bad words being said? Yeah, because, I played the game. I was a defensive tackle. I was in the bottom of a lot of those piles. Sure. Yeah, you're all right. There's a lot of things that cameras do not pick up on. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right. And once again, I went out of my way to put out that positive Fernando Carmona clip on Twitter. Okay? But welcome to the channel, Mark. Nice selfie. I believe this is the wifey. Good to see you. The uproar from Texas Tech fans are so loud because they play like ass. They weren't exactly saints out there either. So what did Texas Tech in that game do that was dirty? I'm serious. What? And if anything, from Carmona's perspective, look, there are plenty of offensive linemen who have mean streaks and do extracurriculars. Plenty. One plays for my NFL team, Trevor Penning for the Saints. He does a lot of extracurricular. But you're winning by a lot. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know what the point was. DMAC wants to talk about the quarterback room, so I will give you my thoughts on that coming up shortly. It's Power Hour SEC, baby. Boom. Dental health is wealth, and our friends at Sequoia Dental are looking to help you feel like a more confident person. Dr. William Wilson and his team of experts do everything in their power to make this experience for you not only comfortable, but fun. Yes, take a look at this after and before photo. That guy definitely got himself a date thanks to Sequoia Dental. From teeth whitening to cosmetic surgery to, guess what? Botox. Yes, they do Botox. Call my friend Dr. William Wilson today, or just go book your appointment at sequoiadental.com. Welcome back, Lost Ending. Let's talk about the dirty play. There we go. Now, Arkansas is behind the 8 ball at quarterback. I don't think they should just go into next year with Taylen Green and 2 true freshmen at quarterback. Especially one like Madden Maleava. Obviously, I cover his brother pretty extensively. But your quarterback room next year is going to be very, very, very thin. All right. And I'm just making sure here. Yeah, I don't see a quarterback that is committed to Arkansas. Unless there is one that I do not know about. One thing that is interesting from an Arkansas standpoint is 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers have transferred in. Omega Blake, Courtney Crutchfield, Cam Shanks, and Raylan Sharp. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Courtney Crutchfield. Obviously, he's the most hyped transfer coming in of all the Arkansas players. I really don't know a whole lot about him. What I will say is the players that transfer back for the hometown discount that did nothing at their first stop, rarely are they good in their second stop. It's rare. I'm just telling you like it is, because obviously I cover LSU pretty extensively, and LSU takes a lot of hometown discount players that are from Louisiana, 4-star or better recruits. They go to their first stop and they don't play. And LSU welcomes them back, right? Because, it don't cost anything. Coming back home to Louisiana, it's kind of a free transfer, if you will. They do nothing in the second stop. Crutchfield did nothing at Missouri. They gave him a single-digit number and everything. In fact, they gave him the number of their best player from the year before. He did nothing. Now, was there injuries? Was there more to it than we would like to think with Missouri? Maybe so. Another thing about Missouri that was interesting is their wide receiver room was very crowded, right? There was a reason he didn't play, and that's because Missouri had one of the better wide receiver rooms in the SEC last year. DOE's very good player, will play on Sundays. Luther Burden, a very good player. Johnson, a very good player. They utilized their tight ends some, but not a whole lot. And they had 2 experienced running backs. So it was hard as a true freshman to be involved with an experienced team that was returning so much. All right. So I don't know if this is something that I feel will be a slam dunk, like a lot of Arkansas fans are feeling. What do we know about Arkansas high school football recruits? Well, a lot of them don't pan out. Even the ones that get a recruiting ranking similar to the elite recruits that come out of Texas and the elite recruits that come out of Louisiana and the elite recruits that come out of California. A lot of those guys just do not pan out for whatever reason. Doesn't matter which school they go to. Now, some of them do. Like Braylon Russell, who a lot of you do not like, and I get it. You have a justified reason to not like him. But I'll tell you this, Braylon Russell's film versus Texas Tech was pretty damn good. I mean, it was very good. He made a lot of plays happen. And that was big because Arkansas's offensive line was patchwork. You had a bunch of walk-on, backup kind of guys playing in the game. Braylon Russell made a lot of those players that got through miss. He made a lot of unblocked guys miss. And that was big. That was big in this game. So he's kind of the outlier. A lot of the elite ones just are just guys. And you lost two of them in the portal. Nico Davalier left from Maumelle. Isaiah Satania. You thought the dream for Isaiah Satania was to finish out his career in Fayetteville. He had a pretty solid role. He's out. Maybe he took offense to all the receivers that they were bringing in. Oklahoma actually is a kind of good fit for him because their wide receiver room got decimated with transfers. So, I don't know. We have talked quite a bit about the relationship with high school coaches in the state of Arkansas with the players that Arkansas currently has. I do believe the Arkansas staff has kind of punted on some of the elite recruits. Now, I do think Karius Kern is really good. He is going to LSU. And, I think this Wilson kid, a quarterback, is very interesting. So we had questions about the quarterback room. I do think Arkansas needs to go get a transfer quarterback because one thing that's working against Madden is that he's not played. He has 1 year of starts in high school. College football is getting more and more about experience, about age. Old wins in college football, especially at the quarterback position. The teams that are in the playoffs, a lot of them have year 4, year 5, year 6 quarterbacks. Satania should have asked Mike Woods about moving to Oklahoma. Wasn't Mike Woods good? I mean, he's in the NFLs with the Browns. He's been a lot better than many thought. Let's go to Hog BBQ. All right, Hogs Barbecue, let me ask you a question. Arkansas has become this big barbecue state with Wright's Barbecue kind of taking over. Now, it's funny because there are a lot of Arkansans. Now, let me ask you this. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Wright's Barbecue is the best barbecue in Arkansas. Because there are a lot of barbecue places throughout the state of Arkansas that are hyped up. Corky's, Whole Hog. What are some of the other ones? There's a few hole in the walls in South Arkansas. But Hog BBQ probably thinks he has the best barbecue. My father-in-law, who just had the health scare, makes mean barbecue. I put his up against anyone. I've always felt Arkansas has been more of and it's funny, a backyard barbecue type of place where people say, hey, I don't need to go get barbecue because I can do better in my own backyard. But Wright's Barbecue is some of the best food I've ever had. Now, you're paying for that quality. Let's go to Miranda. Pittman is 14-28 overall versus SEC teams, 6-17 in his last 23 SEC games. Never had a winning conference record, only finished a regular season with a winning record once. His record makes him look bad. Yeah, well, he's also the most affordable option right now. So whole hog must really be the she's knit. I don't think I've ever had a whole hog. I don't think I've ever had whole hog barbecue. All right, now here's what I'm gonna do. In the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm gonna answer as many questions as we possibly can. But if you do love my film studies and you do love my live streams, feel free to drop a donation. I understand Arkansas basketball, I think, is playing tonight. I don't know. You guys gotta let me know in the chat. I've not really even watched Arkansas basketball at all. Oh, really? They really put that on the schedule? A pale blue dot? Your profile photo is kind of freaking me out because I've been watching a lot of these Interstellar, the movie Interstellar, like Twitter posts, and it just makes you realize like how small we are in the grand scheme of things. Cade Klubnik announces he is back for next year at Clemson. Another thing, Eli Drinkowitz. I hear it all the time from Arkansas fans. He would have been our coach. He would have loved to coach at Arkansas. I don't know if the success would have been the same like he's had at Missouri. Their schedules have been easier than Arkansas schedules. Not by much, but they have been. But he is very much a better coach than Pitt. Okay. Now we got a space guy or gal here. Yeah, I've seen the schedule. I don't want to start doing like 2025 schedule breakdowns just yet because it's just, we got all off season to do that. So there you go. That'll do it for me. Once again, next week's show, we will talk more about how I feel about the transfers coming in, plus a few of the other true freshmen. Should be a fun year. The one thing that you do have going into next year is continuity. You return your quarterback, you return your OC, you return your DC, you return your head coach. There's something to that. Okay. And Power Hour SEC. Boom! And tonight we're doing steaks. Let's go.